Hi, and welcome to today's digital session where we will explore how artificial intelligence can be used to accelerate your talent acquisition. My name is Enias and I'm your host for today's session. I'm a product manager at Talent API where I was able to see firsthand how AI and HR can work together to build out success stories. Talent API, the product company where I work, is developing what we call an AI-first talent intelligence platform that sits at the intersection of people and jobs. That makes sure that people get the career they deserve every step of the way. Our company grew from our understanding that the HR market is getting more dynamic and starts to move faster than ever. We foresee that talent acquisition will move away from today's impersonal, transactional operations into personal, recurring operations, where reskilling and upskilling will become a normality. Using our technology, we support HR service providers and corporate HR talent acquisition teams to achieve their staffing goals by offering strategic and well thought through solutions for faster, more personal, and more qualitative recruitment. On the agenda of today's session, we will first dive into what defines effective talent acquisition. And then we will move on to have a look at what true AI is and how AI is typically used to transform HR processes. Then in the second half of this digital session, we will make everything more tangible. We will discuss what AI can do for us. We will dive into how AI helps us to attract more candidates and allows us to screen them even faster. And finally, to wrap up this session, we will have a critical look towards AI solutions, because AI is a hype, and that means sales organizations will use that term just to impress you. So that means let's have a look at what AI really is, what are key factors for AI plus HR to work, and let's come up with questions together on how to evaluate AI solutions. Talent acquisition is typically measured using two key metrics, and we want to optimize for these metrics, and that is time to hire and quality of hire. Time to hire is super important because we operate in a competitive market. And in other words, that means if you don't place a great candidate, your competitor will do so. And this holds even more for a great candidate. Studies have shown that the best candidates are off the market in less than 10 days, while hiring on average takes you 25 days to make a decision for a specific candidate. And that means most companies lose their unicorn employee they are eagerly looking for just by not reacting fast enough. This is a very painful realization. If you know that companies spend from 6,000 upwards to 300,000 euros each year on employer branding, just to make sure they have enough inflow of those unicorn candidates, only to then lose them to screening. Very painful. And the second dimension is quality. That's typically why it takes so long to hire for a position, because as recruiters, we want to make sure that we do not hire a mediocre candidate. We want to hire the best candidate each time, and rightfully so, because hiring an unfitting candidate can cost upwards of 30% of the employee's first year's earning. That means if you get a candidate that you will pay 90,000 euros per year, you essentially lose 30,000 or 30% just by making that wrong decision. And it is with these two issues or two metrics, time and quality in mind, that the AI industry has shifted its attention onwards to talent acquisition. Now we can see AI working in talent acquisition and delivering shorter time to hire, reduced hiring costs, and increased quality of hire. But before we dive into what AI can do for us, let's take a step back and see how AI works and how it achieves these results. If we look at AI, we can typically discuss three key steps. True AI starts by processing a large quantity of data. For example, it will process millions of CVs and it will look at trillions of vacancies. And then in the second step, it will take this huge amount of data and it will learn insights from that data. And examples of those insights are, for example, relations between job titles, understanding that an account manager is very similar in terms of skills compared to a salesman. And that means AI can say salesman is applying for the job, might be a good candidate for an account manager then. Another example of such an insight is relations between skills. Because I, as a candidate, might define Microsoft Word as a skill, but you say in your vacancy, we require insights into Microsoft Office. You are capable of working with Microsoft Office. And then the AI can know, well, Microsoft Office is a part of Microsoft Word and vice versa. It's related to each other. But we can go even further. For example, if I work in marketing, I have marketing as a skill, but then AI knows, well, you are familiar with email campaigns. And AI can even make a connection between hard skills and soft skills. Because if you are a project management type, you have that skill, then, well, let's face it, you can work with teams, you know how to communicate well. So that means the soft skill, team player and communicative are part of your profile, even without you mentioning them explicitly. And then finally, with those insights from the large quantity of data, AI will typically automate repetitive tasks, such as screening, and it will share the insights with the recruiter. It will really inform the recruiter about its insights. So now that we understand how AI works, let's have a look at what it can do for us. Let's first have a look at the first step, and that is we want to attract more candidates. How can we do that? Well, AI can offer you, for example, a smart search. What that means is today we just type in a query and we hope for the best. We found out that candidates are having a hard time using search engines when it comes to looking for an opportunity. Why that is? Well, if I just type in one keyword, I get thousands of results, but I really just want the best job for me. A quick example is if I type in kitchen, what am I looking for? Well, most people that type in just kitchen in the search bar are looking to work in a kitchen environment. They want to become a cook, they want to be a sous chef or a chef. And normal search engines will just return to you, well, we are looking for a call center employee that will sell IKEA kitchens. And that is, of course, not a good result then, because I was looking for a chef. I meant the best, typing in kitchen, but apparently your system cannot understand it. And that is something AI can see. It can learn from the behavior, learn from the data that kitchen actually, in most cases, means you want to work in a kitchen. The next step is then profile creation. Every single platform requires making a profile. And that makes sense because in order to have effective talent acquisition, I want information about the candidate. And that means the candidate has to fill in yet another form. I think everyone hates filling in forms. So AI can help you to avoid that step. What can happen is your future employee can just upload his CV. It can be a PDF or a Word document, and the AI will structure that document. It will extract the coordinates, the address, the email address, the phone number. It will extract your previous experience. Where did you work? In which function did you work and for how long? And then it will also have a look at skills. Which skills do you have? And then that AI will just create that profile from an unstructured Word document. And that means what we've now done is AI removed friction for your future employee, but that means you still have all the data you need to support future steps in your talent acquisition. And then the last step is we now have an understanding of what the candidate is capable of according to the CV, and then we can use AI to learn from the behavior of your future candidates. We can see, oh, you clicked on these vacancies. I now have an understanding of what you are looking for, what you are aiming for, so I can bring you personalized job recommendations. And personalized job recommendations means someone will not only apply on one job where he might be not the ideal candidate, but we can take a candidate and really point him in the direction where he has his strengths and where the strengths align with the interest. And that really leads to way more qualitative candidates. So that means we now used AI to really streamline that candidate experience. So now it's on to the recruiters. The recruiters will start screening candidates, and AI can help you screen candidates even faster. How that happens is the first step is AI will offer you data-driven matching. What that means is it will be able to scan through thousands of CVs and respond, well, for this vacancy, here's the top 20 candidates for you. Let's have a look at those together. And what makes data-driven so powerful is, well, it will use the personal preference of your candidate. It will use all the CVs. All in all, it will go through each step. It will evaluate, is the experience what I would like it to be? Are the coordinates what I would like to be? Is the candidate not living too far? Are the skill requirements matched? And it will do so consistently every step of the way. It will do so even if it has to. It will do that 1,000,000 times every time the same consistency will be used. That means more consistent evaluation, and that means you don't miss out on that candidate that's at the bottom of the stack, and yeah, well, you don't have time, so you never have a look at that candidate. The second, and that is really important in today's knowledge economy, is AI can help you to hire for potential. Because some companies are having a hard time attracting the future employees they really need. For example, it could happen that my employer branding isn't aimed for a good marketeer, but I'm having trouble filling in my marketeer vacancy. What I can then do is AI can show you, well, here is a great office manager that has the skills, has the potential to grow into a perfect junior marketeer. And that is something an AI can do because it will have seen that office managers typically shift. They have a career switch towards marketing. And that is an insight that AI can now use to show you the best candidates, and it will also show it to the recruiter, making them aware of this possibility. And that is really great potential. And then lastly is AI can go beyond what we are used to. We are used to thinking of the great candidate we want, translating that into a vacancy, and then using that vacancy to match candidates again. Well, AI can help you shortcut that one step, and remove that vacancy out of the equation. We can just say, well, I have a perfect employee here. Paul, he's great, he's the perfect senior marketeer. That's, if I could duplicate or clone him, that's what I would do. But sadly, we cannot, of course. So then we hire. And then AI can use the profile or the employee profile of Paul, extract all the information we need, and start matching with candidates immediately. So then we can have a vacancy just for our job portal, but actually match with the qualities of your unicorn employees. And that is really powerful. So that brings me to the hype versus reality. Well, to answer this question, what I can do is I can list you what, in my opinion, makes AI plus HR very successful. The key aspects that we've used and we've seen that really makes a great impact. The first criteria is your solution, your AI solution should be data driven. That means the first step, we learn from a lot of data and we generate insights from it. Most solutions don't offer that, and that is an issue because the market is always changing. We are now in a corona market, which is totally different from the pre-corona market and will surely be different from the post-corona market. So that means if you have a solution that is able to learn from data, it is a solution that not only will work today, it will also work tomorrow when the market has changed, when the demands in the market have changed and you need to shift your talent acquisition strategy. The second one is making sure that AI can not only learn from data, but also feedback. Because algorithms, they are most of the cases right, but there are also very frustrating cases where it is wrong. And if you then have a solution that cannot learn from feedback, then, well, you have a bad solution because your recruiter will see a top 5 of candidates and will conclude, well, only one of those candidates really fits the job. And if you cannot share that with that AI, then your AI will never improve, and that means, well, talent acquisition is not efficient, recruiters are frustrated, and you keep on seeing the same mistakes all over again every single time you are hiring for a specific vacancy. So in order to avoid that, make sure the solution takes into account feedback. The last 2 points, frictionless and personalized, are not per se related to AI technology, but are important for implementation. Frictionless means that we don't offer a solution that creates more friction to remove friction. A perfect example in talent acquisition is we have powerful matching tools, but they require you to fill in fields very detailed. So that means, well, now the recruiter has a lot more work filling in profiles, filling in vacancies, and that it just means you lost time somewhere else. We just shift the time lost in screening and we moved it to data creation. So that means a good solution will remove friction without adding any friction. And then finally, it needs to be a personal solution, because what we've seen is if you combine what a candidate can do, what you can see from the CV, and you combine that with what a candidate wants to do, his or her ambitions, then you really have a good candidate experience, and that's typically what recruiters want to hire. Someone that has the skills, has the foundation, but also really is driven to do the job you are hiring for. So that is the fourth recommendation. So that brings me to the end of today's digital session. But I would like to wrap up and say that, well, today we zoomed in on one part of the talent lifecycle, but of course AI can support more steps along the talent lifecycle. Today's session, of course, we focused on attract and recruit, but keep an eye out on our social media. You can follow us on our website, talentapi.com, or on LinkedIn. That is linkedin.com/showcase/talentapi. And there we will post very soon some insights on how AI can accelerate other steps of the talent life cycle. That brings us to the end of today's digital session. Thank you very much for tuning in. I would say let's connect, let's go and have a chat with each other, a virtual coffee, or maybe I can just introduce you to our HR solutions and how you truly accelerate talent acquisition. And with that, thanks again for your attention. See you in the next digital session or webinar. See you. Bye bye.